My name is Cyril Jefferson. I'm the very proud mayor of High Point, North Carolina. I'm also a husband and a father, an entrepreneur, someone who's done great work in terms of social impact, former educator, and now a candidate for US Congress in North Carolina's 6th Congressional District. I'm running because I believe that America is at its best when every single person has a chance at the American dream. That means an economy that works for them and a government that shows up in the best way possible to truly represent the people. The issues that we're running on, we believe, are the kind that will ensure that working class folks are not left out of opportunities. That when you work hard in this country, you should be able to reap the benefits from that. And that it feels that our government and our elections are much more fair, much more people driven, and thus the power is back with the people.
And what qualifications do you have for this role?
Well, I mentioned being a former educator and having a passion in terms of investing in our young people. Also, being a businessman, ran a small business for nearly 8 years, and then actually went through a strategic acquisition where my company was acquired by Stratagon. And now I serve as industry practice director there for higher education. And so you kind of see that through line there for education. And then also you talk about my roles I've done politically. I was a member of city council for 4 years. Now in my third year as mayor of High Point. And so 7 years in local government in total, and where our experience has been pretty valuable. We've seen success happen when you are a government that truly is for the people, by the people. We've had economic development wins and successes. We've seen homicides drop 75% in our city. We've created an inclusive economy so that way no one feels left out. So things that I campaign on is the kind of work that we've done, and it's on our resume.
And why should voters pick you over the other candidates?
In this upcoming primary election, I ask voters to choose me because in the general election, we absolutely need the very best candidate who can win. It's very clear that the current representation that we have is not getting the job done. Addison McDowell's very first bill that he sponsored was to rename Dulles Airport after Donald J. Trump. He then followed that up with divestment of $40+ million from this district alone. And when you approach him about all these concerns, when you approach him to tell him that the High Point furniture market took a big hit, or that constituents across the district are worried about their health care costs going up, his response is that President Trump won with a mandate and we're only supporting his agenda. It's really this sort of apathetic view in terms of what it truly matters to the American people. I'm asking voters to choose a candidate who's not going to be loyal to a party of one, but to a party of many, a party of folks all across this district, the nearly 750,000 people who call this district home. You want to have someone who's been a real voice, someone who absolutely knows what it is to govern and won't just talk about promises, but will show you the work that's been done. We have fruit from our work, and we're excited because we know we can take that to Washington. We've not only got the resume, but we've got a real push. We believe that right now that Congress as a machine doesn't produce the outputs that we need it to produce. And a big reason for that is because it's not set up in the right way to make it happen. We don't have term limits. That's one of the first things I push for is to ensure that you have term limits for anyone in office. We'd also make sure that you can't trade stocks while you're in office. The constituents across our country need to know that Congress members are making decisions truly thinking about values, principles, and morals and ethics that move our country forward, not their own pocketbooks. We've got to find a way to overturn or reduce the harmful effects of Citizens United. Ever since big money got into politics, it made it where the common person doesn't feel like they have a voice. That's not representative government. We've got to have a moratorium on lobbying to ensure that when you leave Congress, you can't go right into a cushy lobbying job. Because then that means you probably had a wink wink happen and you probably took some votes to get that job, and we can't see that happen. We have to restore trust in the institution of American democracy, and that won't happen until we fix the machinery.
Thank you. Housing and healthcare costs are rising faster than wages. What specific action would you take in your first term to lower costs for families?
Right now, the issue of supply and demand is part of the reason that drives up costs, is that you've just got a growing population. And ever since the crash of 2007, 2008, the financial crisis that was, homes weren't being built at the same rate that our population was growing. We've got to somehow lubricate the machinery to make sure that we can see homes be developed at a much faster clip. But we don't want to do it in a way where it compromises building safety. Here in the city of High Point, we've proven that there's a way to do that. And I invite folks to go check out that work. Now, check it out by Googling the city of High Point and seeing so many of the great initiatives and wins that we've had. You can also go to my campaign website where we talk a bit about that at cyrilforcongress.com. But in addition to the housing issue, we would also address issues around healthcare, where we've got to ensure that the ACA premiums are not only, or sorry, the ACA subsidies are not only expanded, but we've got to keep moving closer and closer to a version of universal health care. Quite frankly, America being the kind of first world country that it is, not ensuring that all of its residents have health care, I just think that's problematic. The social contract that so many of us have is we believe that if we work hard, things will work out in the end. But so far, what many people are seeing right now is that they're working hard and it's still not enough. Coming out of World War II, a person who was born in America had a 90+% chance of doing better than their parents, which is what all of us as parents want for our kids. Well, you fast forward, if you're someone like me who's a millennial born in the late 80s or 90s, that data tells you that now your chance of doing better than your parents has dropped all the way from 90% down to a coin flip. 50% chance of doing better than your parents or doing worse than them. Clearly, right now, the machinery is not working the way it needs to, and we have to fix that.
Thank you. What federal policies or initiatives would you support to improve long-term jobs outlook for your district?
In addition to the work that many of our local governments do throughout this entire district and throughout Cabarrus County with economic development incentives, so on and so forth, really what follows development is great infrastructure investment. And so we've got to get serious about how we move people to and fro. What businesses are looking for is can they come to a place that has a certain quality of life and a certain cost of living for their employees. And if we can create the kind of conditions and environment for business to thrive, then business will follow that. But as we do that kind of work for business, we have to also keep in mind how do we do it in a way that works good for the everyday workers as well. And so we have to think about those kinds of protections and think about how the growing shift and the growing trend now in terms of AI as a technology, that our people have to be upskilled and have to be prepared for what is to come with this new revolution.
What's one law that doesn't exist that you think should exist, and how would that law positively impact all the citizens of the district that you're running in?
I mentioned this before, but we've got to have a law around term limits for members in Congress. I just think that as long as you have career politicians, then they're constantly going to make decisions, think about how they keep their job in Congress. I'll give you this as a thought. You look at what Senator Tom Tillis is finally doing now in terms of, he says, you see, he's still a conservative, but he's willing to speak out against things that he just doesn't agree with. He's willing to be more honest. And with being more honest, it feels like he's willing to take the kind of votes that he needs to take. Imagine if more representatives of Congress had that kind of courage that you get when you're on your way out. But you don't get that courage when you're game planning to be in the seat for another 30 or 40 years. If people knew they had term limits, they would do the good work that's necessary. If they knew there was a moratorium on lobbying, they wouldn't be thinking about what job they could get afterwards as a result of some quid pro quo vote. If they couldn't trade stocks while they were in Congress, they wouldn't be making these decisions that support big corporations over the little people. People would be thinking about what is truly best for the everyday American. And those are the kind of laws that we have to change.
And final question, do you have a plan or any thoughts on how you would bring that law to life?
Oh, we've got to mount the biggest pressure campaign you've ever seen. And it's got to be clear. It doesn't matter what side of the party you're on. If you can't get behind the idea of making Congress more accountable, more transparent, more honest to the people, then you should not be in office. I've been asked questions of who would you support for speaker if I was elected to House. It would have to be a speaker who knows that this Congress has to be a better version than anyone before it. The 120th Congress has to put forward the kind of integrity like we've never seen before. We cannot say that we're simply just going to unravel everything the Trump administration has done. We have to find ways that make sense to collaborate where it does make sense, but also put our foot down where we know we have to stand up for values that matter to this country. But we're compromised. I'll repeat, we are compromised when people want to be career politicians. We are compromised when people are only thinking about big money, and we are not going to get our country back on track until we fix the machinery of Congress.
Thank you. You have 10 seconds. Do you want to add anything?
Just want to ask people to keep the name Jefferson in mind. Maybe you grew up watching George and Weezy like me. So when you hear the name Jefferson, you think about moving on up. Thank y'all so much. March 3rd primary, November 3rd general election.